All right, well, the next article proves that opportunities for improvement can be found pretty much wherever you look, and that lean practices can offer lifelong lessons. And our very own Christopher Martin penned a great op-ed that appeared in yesterday's issue of the Quality Digest newsletter titled Kindergarten Kaizen.
Love it.
You know, and I tried, Dirk. I tried to come up with a Arnold Schwarzenegger takeoff on that. Remember Kindergarten Cop?
Yeah.
But I couldn't find a rhyme for tumor. It's not. It's not a tumor. It's not.
This reminds me everything I need to know about Kaizen. I learned in kindergarten.
Even better. See, why did you do this story?
Yeah.
Well, the article takes Christopher's obsession, and he does have an obsession with this, by the way, with seeking out quality in all different nooks and crannies, and it takes that to its logical extreme. In this case, that involved Christopher's 5th grade son and the broader perspectives of how parents and teachers can use 5S, Gemba walking, Kanban boards, and the like to help kids learn faster and more effectively. And as an aside, Dirk, you and I both love Christopher's use of the 5 whys to try to uncover why his kid didn't do his homework.
Everybody's had this. Why didn't you do your homework? I forgot.
Why did you forget?
I didn't write it down. I don't have any pencils. You have lots of pencils. I'm buying you tons of pencils. Where do your pencils go? I don't know.
This is great. This is great. And that actually it leads to the next part of this, because it was classic. I mean, the article, just like that, the article is filled with a lot of anecdotes from the classrooms of today. And they all involve the sense that students of any age, I think, should really focus more on culture than tools, I should say. And that sounds familiar, it should, because it's one of the foundational principles of the lean methodology. In the framework of the classroom, for instance, specific skills and knowledge, i.e. tools, are useful, of course, but what's really important is developing the ability to think critically and see the big picture, i.e. culture, right? Exactly right. Now, an obsession with the first without the second, again, skills or tools versus critical thinking or culture, is a pathway to limited development for kids or adults. And I think that's probably a really good lesson. It's probably the big takeaway from this particular article. And that, therein, Dirk, hangs the tail.
Okay.
And we're going to kind of do a mini off script here.
All right.
Because I want to tell you a story of myself and my kindergarten and post-kindergarten experience. Now, you may not know this about me, Dirk, but when I was younger, not anymore, when I was younger, I literally had a photographic memory.
And now it's CRS.
But when I was young, I could look at something. This is why baseball statistics, history, dates, things like that.
You know them, yeah.
I would just recall it like that because I literally, and this is the definition of a photographic memory, I could close my eyes and see the black ink on the white page.
Wow.
And just see, July 2nd, 1776. I mean, so July 2nd, 1776, the date in which the Continental Congress first completed the Declaration of Independence and forwarded on for signature. It was signed. It was ratified on the 4th, but it was actually signed on the 2nd. So, I would know, the teacher would say in whatever grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and what date was the Declaration of Independence actually signed. And I'd say, well, July 2nd. I knew it was July 2nd was the date. Everybody says July 4th, but that's the date it was ratified. Anyway, I would know this stuff, and everybody like, wow, and I get an A or whatever, B plus, because the teacher didn't like me, whatever. The point is, did I understand the meaning of that? Did I understand, why it was signed?
Fact.
It was just regurgitating a fact. I wasn't really bringing in this idea of why that was important, and that was fine. I could cruise through grade school, middle school, even into high school. But when I got to college, I realized that, you actually have to integrate those facts with some actual understanding, some critical thinking, some perspective. And I didn't have that because it came so easy to me to just kind of regurgitate those facts, those skills. I didn't learn the cultural things about why those skills are important. And that has hurt me. And I think that that's a big part of what this article really is all about, this idea that, you want to help kids see the process. Show me the math, as they always used to say, right, in these questions. Don't just give me the answer, show me how you got to the answer. And that's important. I think it's important for kids or adults, and for that matter, to understand the processes behind just the answers. And that applies to industry too.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I took away from this was slightly different, is we don't realize how many of these tools, and Christopher alludes to it in there, that teachers are actually using. I mean, he talks about going to the Gemba. What does a teacher go to a Gemba?
Right.
Well, the teacher's in the Gemba. I mean, she's walking behind, she's looking over the the student's shoulders, she's kind of taking notes of who's doing what. Maybe at the same time she's understanding, hey, maybe the way I'm teaching this isn't working. The students seem to be having a hard time,
right.
And she can see that because she's right there in there watching the students trying to struggle with learning something, right? So, I mean, it's funny. I mean, teachers are using a lot of the tools that we talk about in industry because they have to, because as he mentions, you got one teacher corralling 30 fifth graders. I mean, that's like worse than herding cats,
I know.
right? And so they got to be super organized, so they got their system of 5S, right?
Yeah,
they got their system of 5 Ys where they're asking their students to kind of draw them out. And they're using all these tools, but they wouldn't even know that they're called that.
Well,
It's
yeah,
funny.
exactly. I mean, Christopher referred to the 5S'ing of his kid's backpack. Because when we talked about the kid not being able to find his pencils all the time, he said, well, let's look at this. The backpack's a mess, right?
So they dump it out. It's just a jumble.
All old stuff in there. So they cleaned it out. They 5S the backpack. Now, the kid would never say it was a 5S process. He wouldn't have any perspective on that. Yeah. But that's what it was.
He'd get bullied mercilessly
That's
at school.
From
I do 5S.
Yeah, bang. That was my experience, but that's way before that. But no, but I mean, this is a really good point. I think that the idea that these cultural things that we learn, if we can learn them early, and you kind of look at things as a system. It's really system thinking, if you want to even take it a step higher than lean methodology. It's systems thinking, and it's looking at things as they interrelate and as they correlate to one another, and understanding that any individual piece of that is only one individual piece of it, and there's a much broader perspective. And I think when kids or adults can take that perspective and look at things from that higher level, it's just going to be easier,
right.
And you're going to be much more adaptable. Like I say, you're not going to find yourself like I did, maybe getting into high school or college and being like, well, geez, I know the facts, but I don't know what they mean.
I have no idea.
I mean, there's not as easy of an understanding to see how that works. So, good article from Christopher as always. He does a great job of putting those articles out there. Check that one out. It's really, Christopher's a great writer. He's absolutely one of my favorite writers that we cover. And you're not bad.
Did I get demoted?
Christopher's
no, he is.
Really
He's really great.
So check that one
really
out.
Good.
Okay.